So reason why I think this is important. More recently, a situation in my life has led me to really have to be a little bit more present, excuse me. An individual that was in my life, in large part, was very beneficial to my life, um, is not anymore, and it kind of brings me to a point where I kind of wonder, and I know that we've talked on previous episodes about, there is no past and there is no future, but it brings me to this point where I really truly think we have this moment, and now we have this moment, and now we have this moment. And really, why are we living life outside of that? I mean, we can plan. I mean, we can fortify, and we can look forward to, hey, how we want to raise our kids, how we want to set ourselves up financially, how we want to serve the next person that we come in contact with. But why are we living our life so damn far out? I find that every time I do that, and I don't know about for you, I have overwhelming fear of like, what the hell is going to happen? Right? Like what could happen? What will happen? I start creating scenarios in my head. And it's not that you shouldn't, do this in sales to make sure that you cover all objections, but I don't think this frame should be applied to everything in our life. I don't think this frame should be applied to, well, it might help for those that are eating shittily, to look at what their life might look like in the future if they don't change that. But when we go back to the more micro stuff, who's my partner going to be in 5, 10 years, 20 years? Who's my best friend going to be at this time? Is my brother going to be alive? Is my dad going to be here? Like, does it even make sense to give energy to this shit that doesn't exist?
I think you're exactly right in that train of thought, because the idea of depression is a fixation on the past, and anxiety is a fixation on the future.
Mm.
And I didn't have that broken down to me until a few months ago, and I was like, oh wow, the past, the depression thing I have, but the anxiety I wasn't as
I've
aware
never
of.
heard either of those. That's wild.
Yeah, man. I think it might have been the holistic psychologist. I may have seen a graph or something she put up that
Solid
just
account.
visualized it. Yeah,
Solid
man.
psychologist.
Yeah, man. It's gonna be lit when we have her on the show, bro.
It will happen.
And so that whole point that you just made of being in the perpetual present, it's useful because obviously, even when we make goals, when we think about our futures, the only way we arrive there is through a succession of present moments. And once again, nothing that's never been said before, but I think it can get lost. And that's definitely happened to me on many occasions this past year. And, different sorts of life events can kind of put that pressure on somebody. And even, the last relationship I was in, the current relationship I'm in now, there were these moments where I would get this crazy anxiety about the future, and it might be a bad day in the relationship, or a bad day for me, not necessarily that anything wild happened, but this thought of, will I still be, is this what it's going to be like 5 years from now, like you said, 10 years from now? And then if I started giving that too much thought and trying to play those situations out, it would make me feel differently about how things were right now. And because I didn't necessarily have a positive vision, or I lacked certain vision about what that future would be like in a way that would motivate me towards it. Instead, I found it a lot easier, at least where I was at that point in time, to have that vision of the future kind of repel me away from that. And thus my actions in the present started to look like things that would sabotage the current state of the relationship I was in. And so flipping that frame to take that one day at a time approach and really just focus on that is, in my experience, the best way to have an enduring relationship. Is not to worry about, what's going to happen all this time down the road, and not to let what you see happening to other people influence how you're picturing your own trajectory either, because that definitely can happen. Like, we were at a wedding this past weekend, and some people, if they were a guy with their girl coming back from a wedding, immediately, there might be this energy from your partner, about, well, So when you gonna ask me, and just putting all this pressure on. So I definitely think there's a lot of value in just planting oneself in that moment.